Good evening, and welcome back to Friday Night Vedder Mysteries. I'm your host and mystery guide, Wolf Luger. I trust you enjoyed last week's conclusion of an affair of honor, and the incredible lengths one will go to protect honor. Speaking of honor, it is my honor to have you as my guest this evening. Before we get started on this week's story, I feel I should update you on my own personal circumstance. I mentioned to you receiving the anonymous letter last week. Very strange. That said only, beware never to return or take the breaks. Strange, right? I thought so too. Until today, on my way to the studio in my red Barchetta, all of a sudden, I lost all power to the brakes. It's very strange and concerning. Was it a brake fluid leak from the master cylinder? Well, anyways, I'm careening out of control, but luckily, the road I'm on then goes uphill, and I'm able to slow the car and bring it to a halt on the side of the road. The brake lines were cut. The letter predicted it. Okay. I'm getting signals to move on. We'll discuss more of this later. Let's get into tonight's performance. And what do we find? Only the lengths to which men will go, this time because of the allure of jewels. The Hope Diamond, the Koh-i-Noor, the Black Princess Ruby. Some of the world's priceless gemstones sought after by many, some not so scrupulous. In our tale tonight, we learn of man's attraction to precious gems and the high-stakes game concealing such priceless items when acquired. And finally, the most unlikely of conclusions. So, sit back and listen. The illustrious Ed Stone, our narrator, will introduce us to a pearl in the hand.
Shortly before the First World War, there occurred in London one of the most daring and sensational jewel robberies of all time. Certainly the most valuable haul of pearls in the history of Hatton Garden. But the story really begins a few months earlier, at lunchtime in Valetti's restaurant in Piccadilly.
Oh, I love this restaurant. Oh, so glad we came.
Yes, it is nice to get out once in a while, eh?
So
I have been robbed in broad daylight of all my diamonds, the very stock in trade of my business. What good are the police? What good are you, the proprietor of the restaurant? I am a ruined man, ruined, I tell you.
relax, Mr. Goldstein. Please relax. I can only assure you that this most dreadful occurrence is almost as great a blow to the restaurant as to yourself. In all my 20 years as an owner,
Yes, but that will not bring back my diamonds.
And yet they must have been insured, Mr. Goldstein.
Oh, for less than 1/3 of their value. Nearly 40,000 pounds worth of precious stones was in that bag. I tell you, snatched from under my nose. And why? Because you permit crooks, criminals, thieves to take luncheon in here in disguise. But what good is that to say now when I am ruined?
Mr. Goldstein, Scotland Yard officers are on their way at this minute. Such a crime cannot go undetected for long. Rest assured, the diamonds will be recovered, I am sure.
Now, Mr. Goldstein, all these recriminations won't help in the slightest. My name is Cameron, Detective Inspector Cameron of Scotland Yard. Let's have the details, quietly and coherently.
I came to this restaurant to take luncheon today. I come here most days. It is my habit.
Is it also your habit to carry stones to that value around on your person?
Certainly.
Bet you have an office strong room?
Oh, if I were to leave my diamonds in a safe, in Hatton Gardens of all places, do you suppose I should get a wink of sleep at night? As for luncheons, I would give myself the indigestion thinking of it.
So you carried them around in a small leather bag wherever you went. Well, go on, Mr. Goldstein.
Today, I leave my friends in the foyer while I go and wash up and brush up. Again, as usual. I place the bag on the basin next over while I am doing so. There are only one or two other men in there besides myself. While I am yet in the midst of my ablutions, one of them suddenly seizes the bag and makes off with it, as quick as lightning. As I make a dash to follow him, the other trips me up, and I fall heavily in the doorway. By the time I recover, both villains have gotten clean away, taking with them my diamonds.
Can you give a description of these two men, Mr. Goldstein?
Both were sturdy. One was dark, the other not so dark. The dark creature, he wore a mustache, and yes, I remember now, he had some slight disfigurement, a scar between the eye and nostril. I happened to notice his face in the mirror about the wash basin.
A scar, eh? Between the eye and the nostril. And did you happen to notice whether the scar was shaped like a letter C in reverse?
Possibly. Possibly. I was not too observant at the time.
But good enough to go with, I think, Sergeant.
Sir?
It seems I was right the first time. This looks like another of Sylvester's jobs, and one of the men was Scarface O'Grady. Take a couple of men and pull O'Grady in as soon as possible. You know his district. It ought to be easy enough.
Right, sir.
And, Sergeant, keep clear of the lodgings house, or he may slip through your fingers. Pick him up in the street or any public place. You'll have an alibi, of course, but hold him on suspicion. We'll search his rooms later.
Right, sir.
You know the villain who stole my diamonds, Inspector. You will get them back for me.
From your bare description, Mr. Goldstein, the odds are that one of the actual thieves was a man called O'Grady, well known to us. But I'm willing to bet a month's pay that already the diamonds are no longer in his possession. No, this was a very carefully planned robbery, Mr. Goldstein. And O'Grady hasn't the brains to organize a job of that kind. Obviously, you've been watched for weeks, every habit noted, and in particular, your habit of bringing the diamonds out to lunch with you.
But this is damnable! Heinous!
I'm also willing to bet the mastermind behind it all was a man by the name of Sylvester. Max Sylvester. I smelt his hand in this from the start.
Then what are you waiting for? Arrest this Max Sylvester at once!
I've been trying to do just that for 5 years, Mr. Goldstein. Unfortunately, the police need something more than suspicion, however strong, before making an arrest. For years now, we've suspected Sylvester of being a fence.
A fence?
Yes, a receiver of stolen goods. And not only a fence, but an organizer of large-scale robberies confined to the jewelry trade. They sometimes call him Diamond Sylvester because of the rings crammed on all his fat fingers. But he's mighty slippery customer, one of the cleverest men in London. We've never been able to prove a thing.
But this other one, this O'Grady, whom you are going to arrest, surely he will confess all under pressure. Mein Gott! You must torture him until he does.
I'm afraid it's not quite so simple as that, Mr. Goldstein. A true saying among honor among thieves, and Max Sylvester certainly looks after his flock. If one of them is unlucky enough to fall into our hands and receive a prison sentence, he and his dependents are well cared for. And when he comes out again, he's lost little more but a year of liberty. Does a faithful dog bite the hand that feeds it? I tell you, Mr. Goldstein, and no amount of pressure, as you call it, is going to induce O'Grady to talk.
And in the meantime, my diamonds,
You have my sympathies, sir. At the present stage, I can offer little else. And yet, who knows? This may prove to be the one time when Max Sylvester has been just a little too clever. Now, let's have a detailed description of those missing stones.
Oh, that soup is so good. I do hope I get more soup. It's just amazing. I gotta get the recipe.
I know you two gentlemen will not be overly inquisitive as to the source of my little acquisition. I also thought it wiser to ask you to dine here at my house.
It sounds as if you've got something pretty good this time, Sylvester.
Have you ever known Max to waste time on anything that wasn't mighty good?
Here, take a look for yourselves, gentlemen, but don't let the suit go cold. 23 diamonds in that necklace, and you could break them up twice over, and they'd still be fit for a duchess, eh?
Why, it's magnificent.
But highly dangerous stuff, if I know anything. What's your idea of the price, Max?
Dangerous stuff, as you say, but my price is correspondingly reasonable. Let's see, shall we put it at about... What the blazes? Quick, give me that necklace. Why, Inspector Cameron, how precipitous.
Oh, sorry to interrupt your little dinner party, Sylvester.
Not at all, Inspector. Sit down, have a drink.
Thank you. No.
A cigar, then?
This is not a social call, Sylvester. To begin with, I thought you'd be interested to know that we picked up O'Grady this morning.
O'Grady, huh? You mean Sweet Rosie O'Grady?
Yeah, I think you know just who I mean, Sylvester. He has been identified by a Mr. Goldstein, and as one of 2 men concerned in the theft of a bag of diamonds from Valletti's restaurant earlier today.
Indeed. And how bad for the police? Unless, of course, they have recovered the diamonds also?
At the moment, I'm concerned in particular with the diamond necklace. I've a warrant to search his house, Sylvester, and I'm going to start by frisking that smug, corpulent body of yours.
Oh, I see. For some reason, you suspect that I may be in possession of this missing necklace? I would laugh louder and longer, Inspector, if the old intrusion were not an insult to my 2 guests.
As visitors on premises, I'm afraid I shall have to subject them to search also. After that, they are at liberty to continue the meal.
No, search me by all means, Inspector, but I'll be getting along.
Me too.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, please, I beg you to remain seated. Are you going to sacrifice a good dinner just because Inspector Cameron is here to carry out his duty? You know our English police, the finest in the world. Yet they are never happy unless they're suspecting someone. Meanwhile, it's up to good citizens like ourselves to give them every cooperation. Above all, not to take offense. Here, Inspector, my keys. I shall be happy to assist you personally in your search.
Very good of you, I'm sure, Sylvester. Sergeant?
Sir?
Take these keys. You and the others begin at the roof and work downwards. Very in every nook and cranny. I'll join you presently.
Right, sir.
And now, Sylvester, I'll trouble you to remove your jacket. Anything you say... Oh, sorry.
Anything you say, Inspector, but please, be careful not to crush the cigars in that top pocket. They're expensive ones. Oh, and should you see fit to slit open the lining, would that entitle me to a new dinner suit? I could do with one, you know.
Oh, that won't be necessary, Sylvester. When you've searched as many garments as I have in my time, you don't need to slit open any linings. The fingers become as sensitive to the touch as those of a blind man. Now, just be good enough to raise both arms above your head. Higher, please. Right up. That's better.
Oh, no, Inspector, please. You're tickling me. You're tickling me, Inspector. No.
Well, that's about it, Sergeant, I'm afraid.
And we haven't overlooked a speck of dust, sir. Unless, of course, that housekeeper...
No, I checked up on her ages ago. Just a simple-minded old crone. He wouldn't trust her beyond the kitchen pans.
Well, Inspector Cameron, are you satisfied at last?
You win, Sylvester, but it's just another round. One of these days it'll be the final count.
You should have taken my word for it in the first place, Inspector. It would have saved so much time and trouble, and besides, my soup would not have been allowed to go cold.
Good night, Sylvester, but not goodbye. Come on, you fellows.
Holy Moses, Sylvester, that was a close one.
You nearly had all 3 of us in for it, Max. But I still don't understand.
My
What the devil?
deepest apologies, my friend. Cold pea soup is so revolting. But at any temperature, it is an excellent hiding place for...
Good heavens, the diamond necklace.
So that's where you put it, in the soup!
Good morning. Is this Mr. Marcel Meyer's office?
Yes, sir.
Would Mr. Meyer be in right now?
What name shall I?
Cordell. Hiram B. Cordell of Kansas City. Oh, I have a letter of introduction here from the London Goldsmiths Corporation.
I'll tell Mr. Meyer at once. Will you come through, sir?
Thanks.
This way, please, sir. Mr. Cordell to see you, sir.
Who? Pardon me. Cordell. The name is Hiram B. Cordell of Kansas City. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Meyer. I guess you can blame the Goldsmiths Corporation for this little visit.
Indeed. Won't you sit down, Mr.
Cordell.
Yeah.
Thanks. You don't know me, of course, but back home my name's something of a household word, I guess. Oh, I'm in the canned meat business and I do pretty good, you understand?
Of course.
Have a cigar?
Thank you, but I don't smoke.
No? Oh, well, maybe you'll live all the longer for it, Mr. Meyer. You know, I heard an awful lot about this Hatton garden of yours. We got nothing like it in the States. I sure never guessed that one day I'd find myself right here in the very pulse center of the world market in precious stones.
And just what can I do for you, Mr. Cordell?
Well, it's this way, Mr. Meyer. I'm only in Europe for a short spell, partly business and partly vacation, you understand. But I left the family behind this time. Now, when I go back home, I want to take the wife a little present, huh?
Oh, you mean a gift of jewelry?
Sure, pearls. She's just crazy about pearls.
Most women are, Mr. Cordell.
I guess you're right there. But what I take home has got to come straight from the stable, so to speak. That's why I inquired for the name of the biggest and most dependable dealer of pearls in Hatton Garden. In other words, that's why I'm right here in your office, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you. I take it you have in mind a pearl necklace for your wife?
Sure, that's the idea. But it's gotta be mighty good stuff, Mr. Meyer. It's got to be the real McCoy. I want the wife to have something that's gonna make them folks back home sit up and let their breasts go out all in a rush. You got me?
I think I understand what is in your mind, Mr. Cordell. At the same time, I should point out that pearls, such as you describe, are both rare and very costly.
So what? I'm willing to pay, Mr. Meyer, but only for the real stuff, I tell you. Oh, I forgot. You'll find the name of my bankers at the foot of that letter. And if you want any more dope on Hiram B. Cordell, just call up the American Express and they'll hand it out.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Cordell. In the meantime, you would doubtless care to see some samples?
Oh, sure.
We could then decide if it is possible to make up a necklace to your requirements. Come in.
You rang, sir?
Yes. Please to lock and bolt the outer door. I am going to open the safe.
Very good, sir.
You don't take any chances, huh?
One cannot be too careful. Besides, it is only fair to the insurance companies to exercise elementary precautions.
And this Hatton Garden must sure be a big temptation to the crooks, huh?
Indeed. Why, only 2 months ago, a colleague of mine, a Mr. Goldstein, was robbed of valuable diamonds in broad daylight.
He was?
There. You see?
Well, what do you know?
You are looking at some of the finest pearls in the world, Mr. Cordell.
Ooh, gee, I'll say I am. I've seen some beads in my time, but I guess I never saw them clustered like bunches of grapes before. Say, I'm thinking it's a mighty good job my wife isn't here right now, or she'll be wanting to take the whole damn lot. Now let's get down to business, huh? You can make me up a necklace from some of that lot?
Possibly. But I doubt if you appreciate, Mr. Cordell, that in order to create a necklace such as you obviously require, every pearl has to match and also to be graded. There's a good deal more to it than most people imagine.
Sure, I understand. But you can take it from me, Mr. Ma. Any of those beads of yours will be okay with the wife. I'll leave the rest to you.
I wonder.
Well, what are we waiting for? Oh, the clasp, maybe. Now, how about a nice little diamond and platinum?
No. On the contrary, I was not thinking of the clasp. Mr. Cordell, I do not wish to appear inquisitive, but are you what one might call a wealthy man?
Oh, I guess I've worked pretty hard all my life, and now I've sure got plenty to show for it, if that's what you mean.
I ask because an idea has suddenly occurred to me. Although perhaps a somewhat far-fetched idea, Mr. Cordell.
Oh, yeah?
2 weeks ago in Antwerp, I purchased what is indisputably the finest pearl necklace in the world today.
You did? Say, now you are talking, Mr. Ma.
This necklace was made up to special order of an Indian Raja as a present to his wife upon the birth of a son. Alas, the Rani died, and naturally His Royal Highness had no further interest in the necklace. Thus it came upon the market.
Sure, I get the idea.
It is the most perfect creation imaginable. It comprises no less than 161 rose-colored pearls, all perfectly graded. And believe it or not, Mr. Cordell, the center pearl weighs just over 47 grains.
That's pretty big, huh?
Big! It is unique in rose-colored pearls. Have you ever seen a rose pearl, Mr. Cordell? Under a strong light, it flashes, scintillates, almost like a diamond. Imagine a necklace comprising 61 of such gems. But there, I allow my enthusiasm to run away with me. I am forgetting the price. The price, Mr. Cordell.
Well, just how much is on the ticket?
The necklace is insured with Lloyd's Underwriters for no less than £135,000.
Ooh, 100 and...
But that is not even the full value. It is underinsured. The premium, oh, it was extortionate, Mr. Cordell. I would not. I could not accept a penny less than £150,000.
150,000? Call it around $750,000? Say, that's an awful lot of money, Mr. Meyer.
It's a priceless necklace, Mr. Cordell. There is no question that your friends in America would sit up and let their hair go all in a rush.
When can we see it? I take it you don't exactly keep the thing lying around.
Unfortunately, at this moment, the necklace is with my Paris office. I must confess that chances of finding a buyer in this country seemed remote. I therefore left negotiations in the hands of my agent on the continent. However, if you are genuinely interested...
Oh, I sure am, Mr. Meyer.
In that case, I will arrange at once for the necklace to be dispatched to me here by registered post. Let me see. Today is Monday. I will write off to Paris tonight. It should be here in this office not later than Thursday morning.
Well, that's swell. Guess I can hardly wait.
Until Thursday, then, Mr. Cordell. Shall we say about 11 o'clock?
Evening, Rose.
Hello, Alf. The usual pint.
What's the idea? Gonna join me?
Well, not just now, Alf. I haven't long finished my tea.
Oh, well, there's no harm in me asking, I suppose. Faint heart never won fair lady, as they say. Here's luck to you, Rose.
Thanks. I need it.
You know, Rose, you're getting prettier every day.
Oh, so they tell me.
Ah, but I mean it.
Say, are you trying to be rude, Alf Hickman?
No, honest. I really do mean it.
Have you know I lost 3 pounds in weight this last month?
And not only a figure, Rose. I'm a clumsy sort of cove, I suppose. I never was much of a hand with the ladies. But what I'm really trying to say is, next time your evening off comes round, would you let me take you out?
Oh, I'd have to think about that.
Oh, I know I'm only a road sweeper in the borough of Auburn, but I got a lot better suit of clothes than you ever seen me in. What's more, I got a bit put by.
Then you best keep it for someone with less expensive taste than Rose Carley.
Oh, now, come off here, Rose.
You don't understand, Alf. I've been working here over 2 years now. The Robin Hood, Hatton Gardens, the very centre of the world's finest jewellery. I've seen diamonds and pearls worth a king's ransom, change hands in that saloon bar over a glass of whiskey served by me. I've even got to dream about jewellery. Stones that sparkle and flash from me neck and fingers, waking me in the middle of the night. And in the morning, what have I got to show for it but a few oddments of imitation?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rose. I never thought of things that way. Of course, if I was rich now...
Oh, forget Alf. But you see what I mean?
All the same, diamonds and pearls ain't everything in life.
To a woman, they mean a hell of a lot, Alf. Drink up your beer. I've never talked like that to anyone before.
Maybe I'm the only road sweeper you ever saw fit to talk to at all.
Oh, now you're being silly. I didn't mean it like that, and you know it.
Break it up now, Rose. This customer's waiting to be served.
Oh, all right.
And one in particular, that fellow at the far end of the counter there. He's asking for you.
Well, it wouldn't do him any harm to wait. Oh, if it isn't Joe Morse.
Nice to see you again, Rose. Well, I've been about the place. You know how it is.
A pint?
No, I'll have a drop of scotch. A larger.
And the money, eh?
Not all that much, I guess. Going to have one, Rose?
Thanks. Although I'll keep it till later, if you don't mind. Say, was it you that couldn't wait to see me?
Well, I am in a bit of a hurry, like, and I thought you might be able to help me, Rose. You'd happen to know a bloke comes in here by the name of Dixon?
Dixon? You mean Henry Dixon, that works at the printers round the corner?
Yes, that's the fella.
Of course I know him. Why?
Is he in here now?
Yes, that's him over there under the window, nearest the corner, the one in the trilby hat.
Thanks, Rose. I'll be back. Got a match, mate?
I'll see what I can do for you.
One of them newfangled lighters, eh? Petrol, ain't it? Are they any good?
When they work.
Well, that one seems to.
Mind your eyebrows.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mind if I sit down? Well, just push up a couple inches. That'll do me. Thanks. Your name Dixon?
Correct. I've seen you in here before, but I don't...
You're an engraver, ain't you?
I've earned me living at it for 20 years or more.
And not much of a living at that these days, I'll bet. How'd you like to earn a quick half sovereign? Easy, eh?
Half a sovereign? Sorry, I gave up backing horses years ago. It's a mug's game.
No, nothing like that. This is something right up your street. There's nothing in it, just a couple of hours' homework to you.
Well?
Now listen, all I want is a simple monogram engraved on the end of this here bit of wood. So it acts like a die for sealing wax. You get me?
Morning, Mr. Meyer.
Good morning. Has the postman called yet?
No, sir, not yet.
He is late. I myself would have been here 15 minutes ago, but for a hold-up on the Underground Railway.
Mr. Cordell has already telephoned, confirming he'll be here at 11 o'clock sharp.
Good, good. Of course, I never had any real doubt about Mr. Cordell, a typical American millionaire. But it was as well to follow up on his credentials. All highly satisfactory.
Yes, sir.
I received a cable last night from Mr. Solomon. The necklace was posted at Paris Central at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It cannot fail to be here by the first delivery. And by midday, the deal should have gone through.
The biggest single transaction we have ever done, sir.
Ha ha. I don't mind telling you that for the very first time in my life, I feel the deepest reluctance in parting with such an exquisite treasure, even at a handsome profit. But there is no room for sentiment in business.
No, Mr. Meyer, I suppose not.
Until you see this necklace, you cannot be expected to understand just how I feel.
Post!
There, the post at last, quick!
Registered package, sign please.
Here, out of the way, I will sign.
Along the dotted line, there, please. That's the idea.
Give it to me quickly, please.
There you are, sir. A nice little packet of bonbons from Gay Paris, if I know anything.
You would be surprised, my friend.
Not half, I bet. Good morning, sir.
It's arrived. Who could believe that in this small, insignificant package there reposed the most perfect set of pearls in the world? Lock all the doors and come through into my room.
Yes, sir.
Most beautifully packaged and sealed. But then, my good friend Solomon would never do otherwise. Quick, the scissors. Oh, these seals. Thank you, that's better. Ah, I'm glad to see he has retained the Morocco leather case that I bought. It cost me 800 francs alone. Now. Eh? Oh, my good friend Solomon has even taken the precaution of wrapping the pearls in newspaper.
The Echo de Paris, sir.
No doubt he thought it a better way of protecting them in transit. But what is this? Where are the pearls?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. 11 lumps of sugar.
French sugar, and no necklace, not a sign of my pearls. Is this a joke? No, robbery, that's what it is. I have been robbed. Call the police, call the insurance companies. God in heaven, someone is going to pay for this.
You're quite certain, Mr. Meyer, that your Paris office is
absolutely above suspicion, Inspector Cameron. I tell you, Mr. Solomon himself sealed and handed this package into the Paris Central. Mr. Solomon? Why, I would as soon suspect the Postmaster General of England.
And yet you say the seals were all intact upon arrival here. That is, the authentic seals as used by your Paris office.
Exactly. That is the mystery. That's what is utterly beyond my comprehension. And yet...
I suppose there's no question about the seals being genuine.
None whatever, Inspector. Look. You can see plainly enough the monogram, M.M. Marcel Meyer. Identical sealing dies are used both in my London and my Paris office.
Yes.
In fact, here is the actual die.
No, thanks. Have you a magnifying glass handy, Mr. Meyer?
Certainly. Here.
Thank you. I thought so.
Eh?
The wax seals on this wrappings were not secured by the die exactly similar to this one, Mr. Meyer.
What? But this is impossible.
Well, the monogram MM is there plain enough, and there's a strong discrepancy in the way the two letters are interwoven. Take a look at yourself through the magnifying glass.
I can hardly believe it, Inspector. But, by heavens, you're right. Then this isn't the same parcel that Mr. Solomon handed in.
Oh, yes, I think it is. Furthermore, the original seals were of bright red wax. You can still see traces of it around the string, whereas these seals are pale yellow.
Then,
Now, obviously, after Mr. Solomon had handed it into the Paris post office, someone opened it, took out the necklace, and then did the parcel up again very carefully, using a fair imitation of your firm's seal. Someone who knew the exact movements of the necklace and had planned the whole thing in advance.
Some villain disguised as a French postal official? Hence the lumps of French sugar wrapped in the echo of Paris?
That could have been a blind. The newspaper is 3 days old. The sugar? That could also have been brought over here in advance.
You mean you suspect our own post office officials in England?
Of the two? No, but we have to consider things from every angle. At the moment, we're in close touch with the Sûreté in Paris. Exhaustive inquiries are already on foot, both sides of the channel. Now, how many people in London, besides yourselves, knew that the pearls were about to travel?
No more than a few of my colleagues in Hatton Gardens.
But news of that sort soon gets around. What about,
My clerk. She has been with me over 15 years. I can vouch for her absolutely, Inspector.
And that goes for the American client?
Mr. Cordell? Out of the question, Inspector. I had already satisfied myself of his bona fides beforehand. No, if the culprit is indeed to be found in England, then I think you will have to look beyond Hatton Gardens.
And by way of a start, we'll have these seals photographed and reproduced in all the newspapers. There's just a chance it may bring results. Meanwhile...
Mr. Brock is here, sir.
Oh, yes. Ask him to come in at once. You know Mr. Brock, Inspector? The assessor to Lloyd's underwriters?
Indeed I do. He and I have worked on more than one case together in the past. In fact, I was half expecting to find him here on arrival.
Come in, Mr. Brock. Come in.
Sorry I couldn't get here before, gentlemen. I've only just left a meeting of the underwriters, and there's another one called for 5 o'clock this evening. This has come at a bad time, Mr. Meyer. I don't mind telling you it's caused a minor panic in Fenchurch Street.
And what about me, Mr. Brock? I must point out that your people were only too willing to accept an exorbitant premium.
Which was fully justified by the look of things. Any clues, Inspector?
Practically nothing so far, except that the package was opened. Anywhere en route between Paris Central Office and this address. The necklace taken out, the seals replaced with a die that could have been copied either in London or Paris. But it's early yet, and I'm still awaiting a full report of investigations by the Sûreté.
And in the meantime, £135,000 of underwriters' money is...
Believe me, Mr. Brock, I would far sooner see the return of my pearls than your company's check.
Precisely, Mr. Meyer. And that's what I'm here for, but we've got to work fast. Now, as I see it, Inspector, the necklace at this moment could be either in London or Paris. Assuming the theft did take place at this end, the next move would be to get the pearls over to the continent as quickly as possible. But to try it on today would be running too big a risk. The channel ports are all being watched.
Of course.
I'd say we've got about 48 hours grace. That is, if the necklace is in England, as I very much hope.
You have a plan, Mr. Brock?
The only possible plan, but I shall need your cooperation, Inspector Cameron.
Well, let's have it.
By this time tomorrow, every dealer in England and the continent will be wise to that necklace. It could never again be sold as a complete string of graded pearls. Therefore, the only hope is to break it up and negotiate the pearls separately.
Break it up! Break up that superb
Which alone would reduce the normal market value of the pearls by at least a half, whilst a fence wouldn't get more than a few hundred apiece, knowing the risk. Am I right, Inspector?
Yes, go on.
We've got to get those pearls back before they can be scattered over the continent, and there's only one way to do it.
A reward, eh? Well, that's been done often enough, Brock. You ought to know it seldom works.
And why not? Because the reward was seldom big enough to bait the trap.
Well?
I don't know how many fingers are in this pie, Inspector, or whether they're a bunch of English crooks or otherwise, but I have advised the underwriters to offer a reward of £10,000 and no questions asked for the return of the pearls intact.
10,000?
The highest reward ever offered by an insurance company. But what is that compared with a loss of 135,000? I tell you, it's the only way. And we've got to work fast because it's too late. By tomorrow morning, every leading newspaper in Europe will carry a full spread announcement. You'll cooperate, Inspector? Remember, this could be your old friend, Max Sylvester.
I haven't lost sight of that fact. £10,000, by God. Well, that ought to bring some of the rats out from their holes.
£10,000 reward? Blimey. Someone's going to be lucky, eh, Rose?
Well, I dunno. If you ask me, I don't think they'll ever get them pearls back.
According to the paper, there's a fine all-housey do going on between London and Paris, with the police and post office all mixing it. Each makes out that the robbery was the other's responsibility. It even says here that the Entente Cordiale is seriously threatened. Blimey, fancy all that fuss over a few oyster pebbles. Beats me.
Oh, you don't understand, Alf. Pearls like that are very rare.
Must be. But would you know a genuine rose pearly if you saw one?
Well,
Nor me. Come on, let's have another pint. One of these days you'll come down to earth, my girl. You never know what. You might even find yourself saying yes to Alf Hickman, a road sweeper on the borough of Holborn.
We've checked up on every postal official that handled that parcel, Inspector.
And what about the fellow who actually delivered it?
A youngster, if that's anything. But he's got a clean sheet like all the rest of them. There is just one thing, sir, for what it's worth. In the overseer's diary.
Well?
It seems that a few days ago, a Mr. Simon Hassett of 102 Hatton Garden put in a written request for the morning mail to be delivered direct to his office on the top floor, instead of being handed in at the caretaker's lobby.
Simon Hassett?
A dealer of sorts, I understand, sir.
By no means an unusual request. However, we can't afford to let anything slip. Better check up on him, Sergeant.
Right, sir.
Meanwhile, who's this fellow you say is asking to see me?
It gives the name of Dixon, sir. Henry Dixon. He says it's important.
All right, I'll see him at once.
This way, please.
Sit down, Dixon. No need to be nervous. We shan't eat you.
You may change your tune, sir, when you hear what I've got to say.
Well?
It's about that picture in the papers tonight, the one of the wax seals with the monogram MM.
And what about it?
I recognize that monogram right enough, because it was me that done the original engraving.
You did? Now look here, Dixon.
I done it with good faith, sir, like many another private job. You've got to believe me, sir. I'm an honest working man, respectable, with a wife and family. And that's the truth, sir. Of course, if I'd known I was aiding and abetting...
And yet you say you don't know this fellow's name.
I never asked it. I'd seen him in the Robin Hood once or twice before, but he hasn't been in there again since, not to my knowledge.
And not likely to for some time either, if I know anything. Damn it, this puts a different complexion on things. What's more, it's the first hint we've had that the job was done on English soil. All along, I've had in mind an international gang of sorts, but now, Sergeant, this could be Max Sylvester after all.
Beginning to look like it, sir.
Meanwhile, there's a whole day gone by and no word from Brock. Tomorrow's Saturday, and if those pearls are still in this country, I suppose that's all you can tell me, Dixon?
Yes, Inspector, except that...
Well?
There was just one thing, which may or may not be of any help to you. But when I met him in the bar the following evening and delivered the goods, he took a leather purse from his pocket to pay me the half-sovereign. He seemed in a bit of a hurry to get away, and it wasn't until he'd gone that I saw a slip of paper lying on the table, which must have fallen out of his pocket. It only had a few words scribbled on it, but I put it in my overcoat pocket, thinking to give it to him the next time, but now here, that's it.
Thanks.
I make it out to be Pharaoh, Houston, and then the number 304.
Ah, telephone number, sir?
Possibly, although there's no Pharaoh telephone exchange. And I doubt if the Houston numbers run in a series of 3. All right, Dixon, thanks for coming forward. I won't have the Robin Hood watch because it may stop this fellow from showing up there again, and there's always that chance. So from now on, keep your eyes skinned.
You can count on that, Inspector, and not only for me own satisfaction. To see them pearls restored to their rightful owner means a lot to me. I used to be in the trade, so to speak, engraver I was, to a West End jeweler's, so I know quite a bit about it.
Avenue 31549, Brock speaking.
You are Monsieur Brock, the insurance assessor.
Yes, who's calling?
You offer a very handsome reward of £10,000, I think, for the recovery of a certain pearl necklace.
Yes, you know where it is?
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the necklace will be entrusted to me for conveyance abroad.
3 o'clock this afternoon. Where? Where can I meet you?
No, not so fast, my friend. I do not entirely trust you. Still, less do I trust your English police. I also run a grave risk of personal danger in betraying my colleagues.
I can assure you that we shall carry out our promises to the letter. The necklace has been broken up?
Oui, but 61 pearls are intact. Now listen, I meet my friends at 2:30, when the pearls will be handed to me. At precisely 3 o'clock, I shall enter Hatton Garden from the Auburn end. I shall be wearing a white carnation, and I will keep to the left hand of the pavement.
Yes, I've got that.
And at exactly the same time, you will enter Hatton Garden from the opposite end and start walking towards the Auburn end on the same side of the street, wearing a red flower in your buttonhole.
A red flower, yes. Go on.
At that hour on a Saturday afternoon, there should not be many people about. If you are accompanied, or I suspect a trick of any kind, you will not see me or your pearls.
Rest assured, I shall be entirely alone.
That being so, then you and I shall meet one another halfway along Hatton Garden, but just in case any of my colleagues should be following me, you will show no sign by word or gesture of recognition. Is that quite clear?
Perfectly clear.
You will, however, ensure that the right-hand pocket of your overcoat is easily accessible, and in passing, I shall drop into it 2 of the pearls, together with instructions as to where you will bring the money in exchange for the remaining 59.
I understand.
Remember this, my friend. 1 hint of treachery, and you will never set eyes on those pearls again. Until this afternoon, then, monsieur, at 3 o'clock.
Just a half minute to go, and scarcely a soul in the length of Hatton Garden. You won't let me down, Inspector? You promise not to try trailing him?
I'm giving you just 1 hour, Brock, to see this thing through. After that, you can't expect us to remain idle. Good heavens, man, the reputation of the entire Metropolitan Police Force is at stake.
And with me, it's a little matter of £135,000 of underwriters' money. I tell you, this French frog is as whiny as they come. At the very first sign of anything, he'll have jumped the nearest rooftop, taking the pearls with him. What's more... Ah, here we are. This is it. From now on, for heaven's sakes, you and the sergeant keep out of sight in this doorway.
Can you see anyone yet?
Not yet. There's a rain on the way, too. Wait a minute. Yes, someone's just turned off from Holborn, walking this way. And by Jove, yes, he's wearing a white flower of sorts. Well, here goes.
And good luck.
Well, I trust you're keenly interested as to where the pearls are. Or more importantly, in whose possession. Could it be the dastardly Sylvester? What do we make of the simple Alf Hickman? Bumbling blue-collar worker? Or someone more formidable? Something's going on in Hatton Gardens. I trust you're enjoying the story and ask that you return next week for the fascinating and surprising conclusion of A Pearl in the Hand. Please, invite a friend to tune in, will you? And now, my dilemma. I had to walk 2 miles to get to the studio, leaving the Barchetta on the side of the road. How to get home? All right, I'll figure it out. I'm your host and mystery guide, Wolf Luger. See you next time.